Tesla shares tumbling more than 8% today, the worst performer in the S&P 500. Its worst day for Tesla since early October. The stock is now down 29% this month, 61% this year. It is the worst performance ever by the stock across both of those timeframes.
In this video, Elon Musk confirms he will step down as Twitter CEO, Tesla stock circles the drain and collapses further as investors panic, emotions run high, bears celebrate, and even bulls are now telling Elon Musk, hey Elon, you're doing it wrong. So while many investors are crying in the corner asking for daddy to hold them, many stocks astrologers are celebrating their brilliant analysis of the charts which told them ahead of time how many people would get butthurt about Elon sharing his thoughts, opinions and ideas about things that had nothing to do with Tesla. The chart also told us that he was going to acquire Twitter and some people wouldn't like that. While emotions run rampant, a few are taking advantage of this buying opportunity. Just for the record, in the interest of full disclosure, I've been doing a bit of Christmas shopping overnight, purchasing some more Tesla shares, not for me, but for family. Merry Christmas. I hope they're not watching. I might have spoiled the surprise. And while the world thinks Tesla's doomed and Elon Musk has lost his mind, a company who's actually doomed, who have actually lost their mind, whose incompetent leaders actually should be removed from the job, have announced once again to the world their intent on absolutely going bankrupt before the decade ends. I discussed this exclusively on Patreon this morning. All I can say is, don't say I didn't warn you. Now, the big news of the day, which I guarantee still won't be enough to appease the emotional Tesla stock investors who are crying in the corner. Nothing's going to make them happy. Elon Musk posting this. I will resign as the CEO of Twitter as soon as I find someone foolish enough to take the job. After that, I will just run the software and services teams. A man of his word. The people and the bots have spoken. They want Elon to step down as head of Twitter and he'll be doing exactly that as soon as he can find an appropriate candidate, which won't be easy. Let me know in the comments below. What's your guess? Who will be the CEO of Twitter in the future?
Tesla shares have been on a wild ride as Elon Musk makes waves at the helm of Twitter yesterday. The stock hit its lowest level since November of 2020. Shares are down over 57% year to date. For a look at what's ahead for Tesla, let's welcome Gordon Johnson, GLJ Research founder and CEO. Looked at a Lucid chart. Lucid's down a lot more. Meta's down a lot more. Netflix was down a lot more. A lot of tech stocks are down. You've been bearish for a lot of reasons on Tesla for a long time, Gordon. Some of them are coming home to roost. What's the primary catalyst for where the stock is right now, down from the highs, in your view, Gordon?
Hey, Joe, thanks for having me. So I think it's fundamental. I know a lot of people are focused on Twitter, and we can talk about that. But let me just run it down for you. So right now, you're talking about a company that has engaged. Yesterday, they did another price cut in China. 5 price cuts in China this quarter. 1 price cut in the U.S., a price cut in Europe.
Whoa, did you guys see that? Because I sure fucking did. I think we're about to have a breakthrough in understanding why Gordon Johnson says what he says. Such idiotic statements going back as far as 2013, about a decade ago, when he claimed that Tesla wouldn't be able to drive the cost of their laptop batteries down any further, because that had already happened with the batteries that were being used for laptops. There's no way they could scale that up into vehicles. There's no way they could release their Gen 3 vehicle and so on. I've always wondered, why does he say such absurd things? I think I finally figured it out. Let's check out this book proudly displayed on his bookshelf in the background there. I think I know now. Leading indicators for the 1990s. I think that Gordon may be living 3 decades in the past. That may explain a lot.
Despite that fact, today, just this morning, we got China sales. They were down 20% week over week. They missed the consensus estimate by 21%. Why is that important? U.S., Europe, China. In the third quarter, China was 72% of the total market. So you're talking about a company engaging in margin slashing price cuts. But here's the problem. They're running 2 plants at 20% utilization and Shanghai at 93% utilization. So you're talking about a company, it's just a car company that has built too much capacity that they can't sell. Yet they're valued at more than the next 4 largest automakers combined. So what's happening is institutional investors are simply, beyond just listening what Elon Musk is saying and sell-side analysts are saying, they're looking at this data. And I think they're becoming very concerned because if you look into next year, they're running down their backlog. Their backlog in China has collapsed to nothing. Their backlog in the U.S. and Europe down a lot. So backlog down, margin slashing price cuts, yet they can't sell out their capacity. That's a big problem for a company valued for tremendous growth.
Gordon, whenever you're on, people say, what is he talking about? Tesla sells every car that it makes. Where do they get that notion?
I think the answer to that question is by observing reality. Can't wait to hear Gordon's answer on this one.
Yeah, that's Joe, I just want to say that's dead wrong. They're guiding Q4 production ahead of sales. And in Q3 and Q2, they produced more cars than they sold. That is the quintessential definition of not selling everything you're making. Inventory in China right now is around 35,000 units. What's healthy is 10.5 thousand units. In the U.S., they're engaging in price cuts, yet they can't sell out their production. So whoever's saying that, I don't know where they're getting that from. Again, they're producing more than they're selling for 3 quarters in a row, which is a record.
Huh? Can someone explain what he's talking about? They haven't sold the vehicles they've produced for 3 quarters in a row? Can somebody explain the convoluted mental gymnastics he's doing here to try and make this up? What is he talking about? Is he trying to claim because Tesla's production has been higher than the deliveries? Because, when you produce a vehicle, there's a delay because you need to actually get it to the customer. That accounts for a gap between production and deliveries. I'm really confused right now. I mean, and that's saying something, because usually I can understand deceptive tactics this guy's using. But what is he talking about? Where are all the unsold Teslas for the last 3 quarters that Tesla produced and weren't able to sell?
And the problem is, on top of all of this, right, you're talking about a company that's not running their factories at full capacity, yet they can't sell what they're producing. Elon Musk is engaging in far-right conspiracy theories on Twitter. But even before that, you have a racial lawsuit at their Fremont factory. You have a guy who said he was going to deliver ventilators, who delivered CPAP machines. It's just, I think that the people that Tesla's focused on, their core constituency of liberals who thought, EVs were going to save the world, I think they're moving away from Elon Musk. And even if he leaves Twitter, he's still going to be the CEO of Tesla. So I don't think that cloud/overhang disappears. And I think that when you see the Q4 delivery numbers, and you see, more importantly, the Q1 delivery numbers, I think the stock's going to come under tremendous pressure.
Gordon's favorite line, he's been repeating this now for give or take the last decade. We think, because we are a real research firm. It's not just me. It's not a sham research shop. We, the legitimate research firm known as GLJ Research, believe that the stock is going to come under tremendous pressure. In fairness, the stock currently is under tremendous pressure. None of it got anything to do with Tesla. And I'm happy to be taking the shares off the hands of those who can't handle the heat. Only one of us will live to regret this decision, and I don't think it's going to be me.
But, I've been reporting the last couple of days on Tesla and Twitter, as you might imagine, of course, along with everybody else. We had the poll from Elon Musk that occurred, 57% saying, yeah, we want you to step down as CEO. Jim, no big surprise here. Musk is actively looking for a new CEO of Twitter. And it doesn't take anybody, a genius, to tell you that. As we've seen from his previous polls, oftentimes he sort of already knows the answer before he actually asks people to participate in said poll. And that would appear to be the case here as well. From everything I've heard, he has been actively looking, asking, trying to figure out who the candidate pool might actually be. Heard a lot of different names, but none of them enough so that I actually feel comfortable sharing them at this point. And I'm sure there are.
I can tell you, he's not going to do John Ledger since he shot me down directly.
Not going to do John Ledger. No, I think that's fair to say. It's not going to be Jack Dorsey.
But
you can go through a long list of people. It's not going to be Jim, but I do think it's interesting because, of course, he has told people this is, and he even said as much during his testimony in Delaware. It's a 4-month project. That's what he sees it as, and he's going to find somebody to replace him. He obviously will still be the boss in a sense, given he owns the company. But to the extent it takes any pressure off Tesla, who knows? But he's out actively looking for his replacement, so to speak.
All right, what would be the classic, hilarious replacement? Brett Taylor.
Yeah.
The co-CEO of Salesforce who no longer is.
Bring in the former chairman.
Who beat Musk? I don't think that he wants to do that, Brett. I would say this, David. The question is,
I got so many different names here, Jim, but it's not clear to me that any of them.
A technology guy, or do you want someone who's a salesperson?
It's a great question. It's a great question. What do you need more?
I think you need tech, because
there's so many different things to navigate there as the CEO of Twitter, and obviously in a very difficult ad environment where you're dealing with half the staff that you had, which, by the way, may be good because certainly there seemed to be a lot of bloat at that company.
Yes.
We talked about not working on Fridays. It's not clear what days they were working there.
This is a savagely accurate comment. What days were Twitter's previous employees actually working at the office, if any? I mean, it still stuns me, and by stuns me, it doesn't stun me, but it should stun most people that Twitter still seems to be functioning fine. In fact, the service has improved dramatically since Elon took the helm and got rid of most of the dead weight. Despite the reports of Twitter's imminent collapse, their inability to interfere in the democratic process, to keep the servers on, somehow the company is not only thriving, record activity, record user signups, record engagement, record, new innovations, product development, massive changes. Despite all of this, somehow Twitter has managed to do this under Elon's leadership, with about a third of the employees it previously had. I just don't know how he does it. It's almost as if there are an enormous number of people at Twitter doing literally f*** all, if not doing less than f*** all, literally harming and slowing the company down just by their very presence. Even David recognizes this.
But I'm sure they were.
They were incapable of doing a lot of campaigns. And incapable of doing a lot of the things that people thought they'd do, including integrating gambling, integrating stocks, integrating consumer packaged foods.
And again, listen, we had, the latest research we had was Evercore lowering their price target on Tesla to $200 from $300. And they ended by simply saying, partisan elephant in the room, investors now fear U.S. brand damage, given typical EV buyer demographics, roughly 40% just being from California, 70% from blue states, in a dwindling backlog environment. And they go on from there, Jim. But there's no doubt it's been having an impact.
Tesla shares tumbling more than 8% today, the worst performer in the S&P 500. Its worst day for Tesla since early October. The stock is now down 29% this month, 61% this year. It is the worst performance ever by the stock across both of those timeframes. Are there more shoes to drop, Dan? Or, Carter put out a note. He said, this is time to nibble here.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, look, the stock is obviously pretty pressed to the downside. But what's going on here is the guy who's the CEO of the company is selling stock. And he's been selling stock aggressively. And why is that? On the date that he closed on the Twitter deal for $44 billion, Tesla stock was $227 billion. We've been saying this on this desk, that Tesla is on the hook for all of this. Tesla's shareholders, because right now what's really likely happening is there's a margin call. And the people that he pledged the stock to are selling the stock to raise the capital for it. And so think about all of that that's gone on just because he wanted to be the guy who owns Twitter. I mean, it's just that simple. So to me, I feel sorry for a lot of these Tesla shareholders, the fundamental ones who believe in him in the long-term story. But if you look at the holders...
You feel sorry for them?
I feel sorry for them because he's been asleep at the wheel. He sold them a bill of goods. I've said it on the show. The guy's a liar, okay, just flat out. And he said he was done selling stock how many times over the last year? It's just a fact. I mean, you can look at me, you can roll your eyes, you can tell me whatever.
Absolutely love watching this guy lose his emotional shit and have tantrum after tantrum. Melissa Lee constantly low-key laughing at this guy. She literally rolled her eyes at him while off camera to the point where he literally said, yeah, roll your eyes at me. So, for one, his reasoning that Elon Musk is a liar is based on Elon Musk saying that there were no further Tesla stock sales planned. As we've discussed previously, planned means a course of action that's been put in place ahead of time. And at the point in time when Elon said no further Tesla stock sales planned, that was a true and accurate statement. Just like every single person who ever got married wasn't planning on getting divorced. And some of them did. In fact, about half of them did. You can not plan to get divorced and then get divorced, just like you could not plan to sell Tesla stock and then sell Tesla stock. I'm not planning to sell Tesla stock anytime this decade, but I tell you what, if there's an emergency, medical emergency, etc., involving one of my family or somebody close to me, all fucking bets are off. I'll sell Tesla stock in a heartbeat if necessary. I'm not planning to do, but that doesn't mean I can't do it in the future, and it wouldn't make me a liar if I did.
He lied to his shareholders, and he has been not there for them over the last 2 months when the stock has massively underperformed the NASDAQ over the last 2 months that we've seen a huge rally. So to me, I feel sorry for them, but the rest of the shareholders, you know what's really interesting? They're all indexers. And 2 years ago, on November 16th, the S&P added Tesla to the S&P 500. The stock doubled, and the stock has round-tripped that entire price. It's trading exact price of where it was on November 16th when S&P said it's going into the index. So sorry, people.
By the way, the 8% drop today in part because a couple of banks lowered their price targets. Evercore cutting it by a third to $200 a share. Daiwa cutting it to $177 from $240. It's definitely Elon Musk related. Brand destruction over at Tesla, distraction. Those are the reasons, Karen.
Right. I think with Twitter not doing well and that debt being very expensive, it's understandable that he would want to equitize some of it if he could. So maybe he's looking to buy back some of the debt.
Right.
Needs to get the money from Tesla shares being sold. I don't know. I'm not sure. But I do think that he has damaged the brand.
Now, this is telling. Check out the graphic on screen right now. Where the analysts stand regarding Tesla stock. 27 analysts recommending to buy Tesla stock right now. Just 13 recommending to hold. And 3 recommending a sell. With Tesla stock literally at 2-year lows, even the analysts who were super bearish on the stock recently are now recommending investors hold, if not buy the stock. About 6.9% of analysts currently recommending people sell Tesla stock. That's it, 6.9%. If that doesn't tell you everything about the disconnect right now, I don't know what does. These are analysts who, for the most part, don't even understand the company, don't believe that robotaxis will ever happen, aren't even thinking about the Tesla bot, assume the competition is going to come all over Tesla, have no idea how much further Tesla's cost to produce electric vehicles can decline. And today, as I record this, just 3 analysts on Wall Street recommending investors sell Tesla stock. What is going on?
I don't know. Let's say he gets a new CEO into Twitter tomorrow. Does that stem the bleeding? It might, for briefly, I don't know.
It doesn't change the need to sell stock.
It doesn't.
Even if he's not CEO of Twitter.
Right, but we don't know how much stock he's sold.
Right.
And we don't know about the debt. We have no idea how much the revenues are down, how much money the company is losing. We don't know any of that. So it's sort of hard to say. But I think that when you're saying it's Tesla's sort of bill to pay, you're saying in terms of shares.
Tesla shareholders have been on the hook because the only way he was not
selling.
liquid enough.
Okay.
He had to pledge all his shares to buy this.
But here's one thing that's a little bit. He's been selling $3.6 billion the other day. Maybe sold a few more billion. This is a gigantic company. Shouldn't it be able to withstand a few $1 billion of sales?
Except
that it's from the CEO.
Right, which is a totally different signal to his shareholders.
But does the signal, I don't like Tesla anymore? Or, oh, God, I need the money for something else?
I need the money for something else.
That's what I think it is.
All right, my play is Tesla, the stock desperately needing a fresh charge. That did not come today by any means. Evercore ISI slashing its price target by $100 a share from 3 to 200. The note saying China stalled growth remains, but with global backlog winding down, investors are also revisiting demand assumptions for the first time. That's not all. Evercore also wants to see the Tesla Model 2 because, quote, China and the EU desperately need a smaller, cheaper model. That's not all. Daiwa Capital Markets cutting its price target to 177 from 240. Oppenheimer downgraded the stock on Monday, and look at that chart. It's remarkable. Shares down 6.5% today, 15% in the last month, 30% since the Twitter takeover, and down more than 60% this year. It is an astounding fall from grace for the world's most valuable automaker.
It certainly is. Right now, it's going to be interesting to see how Tesla is set up in the new year, what adjustments, if any, they are going to make. Analysts becoming more and more critical of Elon Musk and everything, all the time that he has spent on Twitter. It seems like from his most recent Twitter poll, also the most recent reporting that we'll get into in the next segment, that he looks like he's going to step down as the CEO of Twitter, maybe spend more time at Tesla. We've talked to Dan Ives of Wedbush on this program a number of times, and he's grown more and more critical of Musk and the I guess imposition that he is posing now to so many shareholders. Policymakers are also weighing in too.
But this Evercore note makes clear it's not just the Twitter distraction.
Yeah.
It is far from that. There are demand issues, there are China issues, there are product issues. There's got to be more than the Twitter hangover for being down 60+% year to date, Shauna. A lot more.
Well, I don't know.
Wow.
I think most of the decline recently has been because of Musk, and you can see that reflected.
You might argue half of it.
I would
There's
argue
still
probably more than
30%.
over half of it. Over half of it. Yes,
Okay.
I do think that there are other issues facing Tesla right now, but I do think the biggest issue by far, and you could see it plainly in a lot of these analyst notes, and I know many of them.
We should let you back
other
in here.
challenges.
And just to jump in there,
it is. I think by far their biggest issue.
Just to jump in there, though, we also did know that last week Musk sold 22 million shares of Tesla. Now that's about 3.6 billion. Also, as you noted, Dan Ives, he said that it seems like Musk is simply using Tesla as a way to sort of ATM machine to fund Twitter. And so the distraction is there for Musk, and Wall Street not denying that either.
Yeah, certainly is. Shares have been hurt pretty bad, to say the least.
So I think it's safe to say that the emotions of many Tesla stock investors, which should have been left at the door before investing, are currently running at all-time highs, while Tesla stock is at 2-year lows. So while you're crying in the corner and asking for daddy to hold you, a few of us are buying Tesla stock as Christmas presents for our family. And I'd just like to close with a few very important points. The world becomes darker the instant another human being feels they're unable to to share their true thoughts, opinions, and ideas, and begins to self-censor. Something to ponder. I conducted a few very brief polls moments ago on Twitter. In general, do you have a fair, reasonable, accurate, and unbiased view of yourself, your abilities, and your values? Approximately 30% of people voting accurately on this poll, aware they're deluded, about 57% of people unaware they're deluded, and almost 12% of people unsure as to whether or not they're deluded. Case in point. In general, are you a coward, courageous, or unsure? A mere 21% of people claiming themselves to be a coward, while 55% claim themselves to be courageous. Some very mixed messages here. I also asked, as a general rule, when something matters to you, do you say and or do something, or say and or do nothing? 91.5% of people claim that when something matters to them, they'll say or do something. I'm noticing a slight potential contradiction here in terms of the people who claim themselves to be a coward and or courageous versus the people that claim that they'll say and or do something when something really matters to them. So keeping in mind that 90+% of people voting on this poll say that when something matters to them, they'll say or do something, I get the feeling that less than 91.5% of people want Elon Musk to say or do something when it matters to him. Isn't that interesting? I hope I've made my point. Hey Elon, please don't say or do anything, even though it might matter to you, because my panties are currently in a twist. Please don't display any courage whatsoever. It's hurting my butt. I'd rather you be a coward, Elon. Please be a coward so I can stop crying about Tesla stock. Thank you, Elon. Yours sincerely, a concerned, emotional infant who claims to be courageous but is actually a gigantic coward, who claims they'll say or do something when it really matters, but doesn't want you to say or do something when it matters to you. I love the smell of hypocrisy in the morning. Don't forget, head over to Patreon if you'd like to see a legacy automotive manufacturer once again go on the record explaining exactly how they intend on going bankrupt before the end of the decade. Some of the least competent leadership on planet Earth, irrespective of industry, right on display. What the stock market thinks is happening to Tesla is actually happening to this legacy automotive company. If you're not a member, you can join with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment, and I'll see you over there. Love ya.